I was working on Little Fires Everywhere, and Stephen Love reached out to me to say there was a project he wanted to talk about. I was like crazy busy acting in and producing that series, but he came to set and sat with me in my trailer at lunch, and he pitched me this phenomenal idea, and then left the script with me and said, "Tell me what you think." And I loved it. It was entirely unique, and yet also reminded me of some of my favorite action films, you know? So I just thought, this is it. This is something I have to say yes to, even though I've never done anything like this before. There were so many things that stood out to me in the script. Primarily, I really love the relationship. I love this idea of Black family, Black love. I love this kind of modern take on gender roles, right? That you had a dad who was doing the primary parenting and a mother who was out there kind of bringing home the bacon or the corpses, maybe in this this project. I love that they had to kind of find their way back together. And I love the idea that the entire film is really about protecting a Black son. You know, I've done a lot of material around kind of the value of Black life and sort of the vulnerability of Black parenting and Black motherhood in particular. I feel like we've seen lots of films where there's like 17 men all trying to rescue one little white girl. And I thought, oh, how wonderful that this film is about protecting and saving a Black boy. When Omar Sy came on board, I also really loved the idea of this Black family existing in a global environment, right? Like thinking about Blackness outside of the box of African-American identity, but really thinking about the diaspora of Blackness and sort of Black people that live in France and Black people that live in the US and all over the world and working in these kind of global spy operating systems. What Shadow Force is really about is about a couple that are international spies, and they kind of escape the unit that they're a part of, and they get in a lot of trouble for escaping the unit, for going AWOL. And when they disappear, they realize that they're not able to really be undercover because the rest of the shadows are looking for them. So they make the decision to have Isaac raise their child, and Kyrah will go undercover and try to protect the family. And the film kind of picks up years into that separation as we're trying to make sense of it and trying to survive and trying to stay alive in the face of this extraordinary danger. I just want to say Mark Strong is an extraordinary actor. I love working with him. Kind of an arch, stereotypical bad guy. I think Joe's done a beautiful job nuancing this character. But then Mark Strong came in and just, you know, increased the value of this character by tenfold. The remaining shadows are this fantastic team of actors that we've all just so fallen for each other here in Colombia, spending time together. And I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to even be on the periphery of the Shadow Force family, because obviously we've left it. But when we're off camera, we're still very much a family. Jaleel came in and read, and we were done. There was no doubt in our minds that he was the kid. I think Joe cried twice in Jaleel's audition. And he was just so present, and he had great instincts about the character, and working with him has been a dream. You know, one of my favorite things about working with kids is that they remind you to be free, to be playful, and as an actor, that's so important. There's so much diversity here in Colombia, and our crew is incredibly diverse. In front of the camera, the cast, and behind the camera, the crew. You know, at any time on set, you're hearing at least 3 languages, because there's a bunch of people speaking French, there's a bunch of people speaking Spanish, there's a bunch of people speaking English. Even in our fighting styles, right? Like, we've been really careful and done a lot of work with our fight coordinators and our stunt coordinators to make sure that even our fighting represents martial arts from all over the world. Joe is like the most excited kid on the playground at the coolest playground in the world. He comes at it with very little ego. He wants to serve the film, but he also is able to have immense leadership, right? So that is such a wonderful balance for a director to bring to set, to be willing to stand in your authority and make the tough calls and execute the tough decisions. Like, he does all of that, but he does it with this kind of open heart and willingness to collaborate and a desire to do what's right for the film, not for his ego, not for his singular vision, but for this film that we're all making together. For me to get excited about the material, I need to feel like I'm telling some truth about humanity. So as wild and outrageous the action sequences are, we're also talking about real emotional feelings and vulnerabilities. We're talking about love and intimacy and family and what it means to be in partnership, what compromise looks like, what sacrifice looks like, and what you're willing to do for the people that you love in order to be together against all odds. And there's something, uniquely Black about that. Such a big part of the diaspora experience is the breaking up of Black families across continents or within continents. This kind of strategic idea of not allowing Black families to exist together as families. There's something about that lives really subconsciously in the material, because we are fighting for our family and doing the unimaginable in order to be together and to protect our son.
For me, the movie was about that, about parenting, also about love. How can we do about love? Because they are still loving each other, but they are apart to protect each other. So it's the movie for me. The core of it is that, and the fun part of it is also an action movie, but you have all this layer of feelings and everything. And also we have like very, very funny moments. I see her like getting very, very excited and having a lot of fun doing the action stuff. And also as an actress, I'm here because also because I'm a huge fan and I admire her work, and watching her work, as an actress, but also as a producer, it's very, very inspiring. And she's an amazing actress and wonderful partner. Jalil is an amazing kid, a wonderful actor, very, very surprising. For me, he's really gifted. And we had like a very special connection, very special connection. The first day for all of us, I remember the day she auditioned, Joe, Kerry and I was there. And after him, there was no question. There was no question. It was like crystal clear. And he proved it, day after day, and he was really into the story. And for me, it was like with Kerry, the connection was so simple that was effortless, to play the character and loving him. Mark is also, we were so lucky that we have all these amazing actors with us. And Mark Strong, we all know how strong he is, really, if I may. He's the nicest guy in the world, but he's a wonderful bad guy in movies. He plays that very well. And it's a pleasure to hate him, And same when I see this giant monologue with Mark, the way he does that is just amazing. And then you're just learning to us. It's like a long masterclass, in Colombia. Joe is very talented director, an exceptional writer. And he has that energy that it's just the gasoline forever, having him happy after some takes, hear him laughing because he's excited, but he's happy to be here. He's happy to do what he does. And when you have that every day, there's no way for you to act differently. Even if you're tired, even if you miss your family, even if whatever can happen to you, when you have a director like that, you just have a different energy. You just have the same. Even at the announcement, a lot of my fan or even in France, they were like, "What?" Because it's not that easy to have me and Kerry Washington in the same movie and directed by Joe Carnahan, because Kerry is huge in France and Joe is huge in France. So it's like three different worlds for the French audience to have like two different worlds being together. It's a big deal, my friend. I'm in the movie with Kerry Washington. It's something. It's gonna be something very singular. It's gonna be something we do, and I have that's pure sensation that it's the first time we're gonna see something like that. The fact that this movie is so global, so international in many aspects, I'm really proud of that.
Filming is always interesting because you always kind of become a family during the process. And every time you join a new group, you think, I'm probably not going to be as close to this family as I was to the last family. And by the end of the shoot, you're, desperately want to see them again. It's been made even more intense by the fact that we're in Colombia. We're in a sort of remote place, living on a remote, resort where we go to work on a boat every morning for 30 minutes onto a tiny island on which you are all day with the same people. So it's been, wonderful getting to know everybody. And Kerry and Omar, as everyone will tell you, I have no doubt, are the sweetest people. All the shadows are, they're very impressive in terms of their fitness and their ability to kind of do these set pieces with the weapons and everything. But off screen, it's been, great hanging out with them. Kerry is just working phenomenally hard. You see her in the scenes where emotion are required, absolutely nailing it every time. Even on your take, behind the camera, she will be giving you everything. Always the sign of a great actor. Omar is just, he's got such charisma. The camera absolutely loves him, as does everybody that he comes into contact with. He's a really sweet guy. And he is incredibly accomplished as an actor, because for him, I think it's all about truth. If he doesn't feel it, he doesn't believe it, he's not comfortable with it. There's no artifice to him. With him, he leaves it all out on the field. Jaleel is a fascinating guy. You look at that young man in a kind of adult world and how he copes with it. It can't be easy. And he just, he's like a fish to water. He's unfazed by the process. He knows how to do it. He was patient, which in a child is extraordinary. Joe, it's not a surprise to me at all that he's written the script, because he kind of embodies the two elements of the script, because he's very hot and family, and he also loves chaos, it seems to me. Loves to talk, so as I said, I'm sure that's why Cinder says so much, because there is an element of Cinder that is Joe, but there's an element of all the characters that, is coming out of Joe. So he's responsible really for all the peccadillos of each of the different characters, whether it's a loving vibe or whether it's a kind of dangerous vibe. And his energy has been infectious and appreciated. Colombia has been fascinating. I've never been here before, and the Bogota element was fascinating because we were in the studio a lot. It's a really busy city. Everywhere we went or drove, everywhere was full. So the energy and the vibe of Colombia kind of fit the movie a bit. So that was great in the city. And then we came out to this remote place just off Cartagena. And the vibe is totally different. Humid, the tropics, but incredibly photogenic. The skies, the clouds, the trees, the rivers, the sea, all of that looks absolutely amazing. And we've got incredible camera team who are capturing all of that. We're not shooting it in a green screen studio in LA or London. I think the nature of the cast is completely disparate as well. All races, creeds are represented. And for me, those are the best stories anyway. There is an international flavour to the whole thing that underlined by the fact that we're in this exotic place. It's an old-fashioned action movie in a way that, you know, ticks those boxes that you require in a movie. We have characters that we can relate to. We have a family we can relate to. We have the shadow force that we are sort of intrigued and impressed and appalled by all at the same time. We've got a fantastic bad guy. I mean, Jack Cinder is not only the best named bad guy I've ever played, and even the title, Shadow Force, you know, it's a throwback to those kind of films. It feels to me like Lethal Weapon and Die Hard and, you know, the great action movies. That's what I hope people take away from it.
I hit the mitts as for cardio, which kind of helped me out somewhat. Originally, Unc didn't have any fighting scenes in the movie, but Joe, being who Joe is, we're not just gonna let you come in here and not get, you know, whoop some ass. So he kind of added some things for me, and I hope it comes off as well as it felt, because it felt great doing it, you know? I've always wanted to do an action movie, and I think I have the right chops to do it. And the muscle dexterity. See that? Everybody was on point with this stuff. I mean, you got Kerry and you got Omar. I mean, that's elite right there. Not to mention Devon. That's super elite right there. So you don't want to be the only one lacking when it comes time for action. I mean, when you look at the shadows, just the shadows alone, you know, we've got Asian, we've got Polynesian, we've got, of course, Black. We've also got Colombian, a native here. And I mean, pretty much covering all the bases. But for me, it's like, I don't even like using the word diverse anymore. When we could just say a movie is a movie, or a television show is a television show, not a Black TV show, or you know what I mean? Something like that, then I know we finally got where we need to be, where it's not even blinked at anymore, where you see a Black doctor and he's the head of the whole hospital and no one bats an eye at it. It's like, it's the norm, because that's what America really looks like. So let's just do that, yeah. I was already a fan of Devon's. I've seen her work every scene she was in, you know, I was locked in with her. And I knew that once I got to set and once we started working together, if I threw her a curveball, she was gonna hit it out the park. You know what I mean? If she threw me a curveball, I might get a hit. She's just so focused. And you can tell she knows what she's doing, pretty much. And I loved every scene I did with her, man, because I had to control myself. It's like when Scottie Pippen plays with Michael Jordan. It's like, yes, Jordan's on the court, but I still have a job to do, but you can't help but just look at him sometimes. Some of the moves, like, my God, what a dunk, you know? Yeah, that's how I feel about Devon. So, I mean, we can see things blow up and explode all day. We can see the gunfights and all that stuff all day, but we don't know the reason why this stuff is happening. It's just cannon and fodder. I think the fact that we have an actor like Jalil, who plays Kai, it brings some heart to it. You know, it grounds the movie, and it kind of brings people back to reality that yes, this is an action movie, but it is also a movie about a family fighting to stay together, or fighting to survive, or fighting to protect each other at the end of the day. You need those layers right there.
I got involved by getting a call from Joe, the director. He said that he had wrote the role for me, which was cool. I had just said that it was important to me that I would do action, like actually do action and do as many stunts as possible. And I think especially, you don't often see, if ever, a woman like me do action movies. So I thought that would be a great opportunity to do this. I think what's different about this movie, I would say, in comparison to others, is you really get to see the dynamics. A lot of times it's just action. There's no emotion. There's no connection. It's just do the mission and that's it. And I think what's unique about this action movie is that you're seeing a bit more of people's personalities and their interpersonal dynamics and connections with one another. There's a passion that Joe has, it seems like, in everything that he does, but he's almost like a big kid in the best way. Like, there's so much life that he brings and so much energy that he brings, and so he's just down for whatever. There's really no ego in that kind of sense. I think he really wants to have the best picture possible and glean and take from you what, you know what I mean, your skill set and what things you can offer. I get to do all my stunts, so that's exciting. I just was vocal of, you know, put me in, coach. This is what I'm here for, and I really want to do it to the best of my ability in the safest way possible. And everyone's been really, really great. And stunts have done such a great job to make sure that we're safe and knowledgeable and educated to do, you know, all the stunts that we need to do. This is Kerry, to my knowledge, this is her first action film, and I think this was something that she wanted to tackle, and it's been cool to see how she is fully heads-on involved. She likes to be physical, and it seems like she's really having a blast. So it's cool to see her full commitment to the role. I think the thing that's most exciting for me is to see the femme forward angle. And I think also to see a diverse cast in which you're seeing Black and brown faces, and it's very multicultural. I just love the fact that, again, we're taking down these old norms and building up new ones of like, yeah, Black people can be spies, or a woman can make a decision to leave her child and have the man be the one that looks out for the kid because that's what they decide was the best interest. I like the role reversal and the gender flip in that regard because it feels more realistic and authentic. And I like that we're breaking out of that antiquated storyline.
He plays with me. He teaches me French. And he's so nice to me. And he does everything. He teaches me because he says a lot of French things. And he said, avec toi means with you in French. Kerry, she's really nice. She gave me a present. And I have an envelope of a letter that I gave her. She gave me Hot Wheels. That was a present for my last day. Yeah, Lionel Richie. It's called Lionel Richie Ceylon Brick House. The Commodores made Brick House with Lionel Richie in it. And one line I had to say, which one is better, Lionel Richie or the Commodores? I had to say that one. Okay, I don't have the beat to it, but I know what they call. Sorry. She's a brick house. She's mighty, mighty. Just let it all hang out. Oh, she's a brick house. She's mighty, mighty. And let it all hang out. The two favorite things, I'm just going to add an extra one. Two favorite things. Oh, actually, three actually. Mr. Joe and Mr. Omar and Mrs. Kerry. That's the three favorite things I love.
The trajectory of my character is I am assisting Mark Strong in trying to track down two rogue agents, Umbra and Sombra, played by Kerry Washington and Omar Sy, getting him information, trying to rally the Shadow Force, overcoming serious obstacles, and getting my face beat in when I fail. So I was so excited to work with him because he's literally just this icon. I mean, he is so incredible. You almost forget how many movies you've seen him in. You almost forget how powerful of an actor that he is. And until someone brings him up and it's just like, oh yeah. He's incredible. And it's unbelievable how consistent his performance is because he has so many speeches and he has so many massive long scenes and he is able to nail it over and over and over again and make it sound fresh every time. And that's just... That's being, a one in a million type actor. Well, I mean, Kerry is impossible. She's just, nobody can be that sweet and that patient and that nice and that caring and that talented and that pretty and blah, blah. So it's just, you're always on your best behavior when she's around because she's just incredible. And yeah, Omar could not be more lovely. I don't know if he's lovely. He laughs at my jokes, and he really laughs hard at my jokes. It makes me feel that I'm funny and I can make a Frenchman laugh. So I don't know. Maybe he's just really nice too. It's been a really special project, and they're two incredibly special, incredibly talented people. I've known Joe Carnahan a long time. We've worked together before. I love the guy. I love his energy. It's again, I was actually shooting a music video in the desert with like one bar of a service, and I started getting these texts from Bogota. Hey, Joe Carnahan, hey, you want to come to Colombia and do this thing? And I was like, yeah, sure, yeah. He explained you, Mark Strong, Divine, Saving the World, all this kind of stuff. I think Colombia is the real star of this movie. I think it actually is. Everybody working on the movie is so lovely, and then to have this incredible sets and incredible, landscapes. Background. Look at this. This is where I'm coming to work for 2 weeks. I love the tropics, so this is just, I couldn't be happier to be here.
Well, it was actually something I was not expecting. I got a call from my agent, and he said Joe was in Colombia and he was scouting this movie, this action movie. They wanted to shoot here in Colombia. He was in Bogota, and I was about to take a plane to Spain. So we met each other for like 5 minutes. And it was great. Like, he was telling me about, I hadn't read the script. I was an absolute ignorant about the project, but he was so excited, and he's so sweet and fun and passionate about this story that I was like, that sounds cool, and I'm so happy that they're shooting here in Colombia, my country. So I feel like a local, even here. They are like really well trained, women and men from all over the world. They're just like the top rank, and we do special like operations for this crew. And it was like amazing just to feel all the diversity that we were going to have in the movie, and just to represent this part of being a Latina inside this story. It's just like a really international story. We have people from all over the world. We actually see places that are representing different continents and people. So I'm excited to be part of it. So Moridi, she starts in Amsterdam. She works as a waitress, and she was, before she was doing the special operations, but now she's back in her real life, and she gets this message, and she gets recruited again after some years. She's really excited because she loves doing that. So she flies and she joins the rest of the crew and the mission, and we're looking for 2 of the members of the Shadow Force that are missing. We have tons of stunts here. We have an amazing crew that has been helping us just like choreograph all the fights, and we also have like weapon training. All the physical part, it's just like, like we're here, there's conditions, there's weather, so we needed to be ready to just like do all the fights here in these conditions, and it's been rough but fun. Oh my God, he's such an action director. He's amazing. I've never worked with anyone like that. He's really clear about what he wants, and he knows what he's doing. I love that he likes music a lot. I think music is a very important part of his movies, and he knows what he's doing just with all the shots and the guns, and he knows how the guns operate and how like the fights and the stunts work. So that's like really special. Kerry and Omar, they are just amazing. They're so generous and fun. I think we have an amazing crew. Everyone is really sweet, and we're just like working hard, but also having fun and trying to enjoy and be grateful because we are here in this beautiful space. We all have like also our families around, so it's good to not only, not the other actor, but just like their human, family, personal part. So it's been great, all of it, like all the shadows. We're just like 5 shadows with our friends or family around, and it's been good. We just become like this little movie family, and yeah, it's been fun. It's really exciting for me to be home, to be, a local. You're going to see Bogota, you're going to see Carnahan, and you're going to see this Rosario Islands. I'm really excited that, Colombia is also becoming this place to shoot this kind of productions. It's cool that we can do this kind of stories here.
It's deeply honoring and flattering, and I thank my lucky stars every day that they would have thought enough of me to hang around to offer me this opportunity. And I think that from that moment forward, I had this tremendous responsibility to the movie, to my partners, and Kerry and Omar and Pilar and Stephen Love, to do something special and to make a really great film. Kerry and Omar, they are two of the most remarkable, extraordinary artists I've ever worked with. I've ever had the pleasure to work with. They are an endlessly joyous tandem to be around and to be able to direct and laugh with and cry with, and all the great things that go along with this line of work. So when you have the top two people with their elan and their way of doing things and their kindness and their generosity, it can only lead to fantastic things. Omar, he's like everybody's dad. He's like the dad you want. And when you had like Jaleel Kamara, who plays his son, who plays Kai, he developed such a bond with Omar. And so there was a kinship and this great paternal sense that Omar had with him. And Omar was in a lot of ways the other director in those scenes with Jaleel. He really kept Jaleel's focus and did so as a guy who's raised, 5 of his own children and 2 children that he raised that were his extended family. So this is a guy who has a lot of experience. So Kerry and Omar play Isaac and Kyrah, who are these formerly renowned kind of international assassins, and they ran this unit called Shadow Force for a guy named Jack Singer, played by the incomparable Mark Strong. And they were kind of tasked with like high-level terminations of diplomats and despots and tyrants and so on. And in direct contravention of this unit's kind of, golden rule, these two fall in love and they slip away and have a child, and that rule comes out with punishment of death and a $25 million bounty on your head. And so they split up, and Kyrah goes and kind of basically hunts down their old team while Isaac raises their son. And in the midst of a trip to the bank, a kind of a regular, everyday trip to the bank, Isaac foils this really intense bank robbery and winds up exposing himself. And in doing so, exposing their son, Marvin, Natalia, Janelle, Sala, and Yosin, who are all these who play the shadows, the remaining shadows. All really phenomenal actors. They brought this additional kind of gravitas. And then Natalia, Yosin, and Marvin, coming from very different backgrounds. Each of them is so, again, lovely as a person that they really developed this bond where, they were going out, they were, they're having meals together, smoking cigars together. They were really kind of tied at the hip. And you see it in the movie. You see how much they like one another. I'm glad we did it here because I think it gave it an additional sense of the kind of the international, spy. It doesn't look like any other place. They don't make movies like this anymore. This is how they made movies in the 70s, 80s. You actually went somewhere and shot it. You didn't shoot it on green screen and all that stuff. So just the practical aspects of it, I really love. And it's like I said, it was not without its growing pains. As you can see from this, it's sweltering hot at all times. But that was just something you realize, okay, this is going to be an aspect that's going to show up in the movie, unavoidably so. And I think that's good because not everything should be air-conditioned sound stages. You got to get out in the world once in a while. And so I made a lot of action movies, and I'm a fan of the genre, and I think I've done some pretty good ones. And you're always left with, okay, well, what else can we do? And by the way, what is the heart and soul of an action sequence? What I think that you have to have people you care about inherently, deeply. And when you have that, the action becomes compounded. And that's why you root for them, and lacking that, it doesn't matter how sensational the camera work is or the fight or whatever. If you don't care about the people in that scene.
The ask was very simple. I got a call from Joe Carnahan when I was in Colorado, and I've been wanting to work with Joe again for 7 years. I think was the last time I worked with him, and it was a no-brainer when he gave me the phone call. But then from there, the pitch for the movie was spectacular. So I was already in at the phone call answering. But once he said what it was and who was in it, and Kerry and Omar, and basically he made it sound like a fantastic international James Bond-esque movie. So it didn't take too much convincing for me to instantly jump on board. Knowing that everything was going to be done in Colombia was going to be a challenge in itself. Only because the whole first part of the film is supposed to take place in the United States. So I knew that cheating Colombia for the US was going to be tougher than cheating Colombia for Colombia. That was going to be the easy part and the fun part. And then figuring out which sets we knew we wanted to build. There were some that were talked about early on, like Cinder's Mansion was talked about being a set, but really once we got to Colombia, especially starting to look in Cartagena, we knew right away that it made much more sense to do that as a practical location and take advantage of the Caribbean and the colors and everything that gave us. The cinematographer wanted me, and Joe and I had meetings early on trying to figure out a way to use color and saturation as metaphors in the show, and trying to build on that as we got along through the show, really using the shadows and shadow force very literally. So having sort of the evil side of thing, the shadows and the soldiers and Cinder be very monochromatic and without saturation, both in their environments, but also in the filters that One Me was going to be using in the camera, except for when we saw Isaac and Kai and have a little bit of color. So it at least showed the family environment. And really using color as our representation of the family unit and basically the family coming together. And in contrast, Cinder himself, we wanted to have all of his environments be very structured and architectural and geometric and harsh almost. And so that any dressing or color that we used in his sets would be very monochromatic, so that we had a good juxtaposition to Kyrah, Isaac, and Kai, especially as they start to get together again. They generally like to build things from scratch rather than there aren't prop houses in Bogota. So for them, it's easier. If we need a couch, they build a couch. If we need armchairs, the armchairs that Cinder's sitting on at his island, they built those from scratch, and the quality, the craftsmanship is incredible. I've been blown away by what Kerry and how involved Kerry Washington has been in it. I knew she was in it, and I knew she was a producer, but I've worked on a lot of shows where actors are also executive producers and are not nearly as involved. She was in meetings early on. She was in production meetings, had input on especially bigger sets, and was completely involved in that process. And then on set, on days when she's not filming, is pretty rare to see, to have someone sitting behind camera as much as she does, and talking and coordinating with Joe, and watching the two of them pass out ideas is pretty spectacular.
It was an obvious choice for her to star in this. The minute we all read it, me, her team, everyone, we were like, you absolutely should do this. And she read it and she loved it. We love the script. The idea of Kerry being in the start of a big franchise was super exciting to us. We love the story of Black love. We wanted to see her be this badass character that we haven't necessarily seen, right? She was badass as Olivia Pope, but she's never been an action star. I think he always knew there was something really special here with this family. And I think that's something he never really has told in his previous movies. So it was like, we knew he could beef up the action, and he really wanted to hone in on this family and this young boy and tell that story and bring this family back together. So I think he really wanted to focus on that while making it fun and big and exciting. It opened up the world, right? Because he's French and Kerry's American, obviously. So immediately it was like this, where were they living? It opened up the shadows in a tremendous way for us we always had an idea that the shadows would be from different parts of the world, but he added another element to that. He has kind of taken on this role on this film as, he's our leading man, but he's also a very, grounding fatherly presence, right? Like, he walks on set, him and Jaleel immediately gravitated towards each other as if they were father and son. He has such a big presence about him, and you stop and you look and you listen to him, and there's a tremendous amount of respect for who he is. He has a beautiful family, and having his wife here, and he has 5 children, and like, you can tell, like, this is what he was born to do. We were very nervous about finding Kai, because where are we going to find this young kid who can speak a different language, is the right age, looks like Kerry and Omar. And he went on a great search and found him. And when we saw his tape, we were like, oh my God, he's great. And we did a chemistry read with Kerry and Omar and Jaleel. And I remember Kerry texting Stephen and I and said, and Joe was there, obviously, and said, we found our kid. No one could have done it but Joe Carnahan. No one could have done it. And being here was very challenging, right? It's a beautiful country, and the locations are fantastic, but there's challenges every single day. I said to somebody last week, I said, we never would have made it through this movie without him, because he's able to pivot and step back and think and be like, all right, if I can't do this, how am I going to go and do this? And he's the best experience. He's an amazingly experienced action filmmaker. He's a pro. This is like, here's this family that's been kind of torn apart, and seeing them come back together and conquer the relationship that they have to do to rebuild that family, but also what they're up against with the shadows and Cinder. So it's a delicate balance of being very vulnerable and accessible, but also being extremely strong and killers, right? You know, it's always our goal in any project to just kind of be as diverse as we can in front of and behind the camera. It adds it's a different energy. It's just, you want to help people, you want to build people up. That's our job right now in this business, is to not only hire diverse crew, but to build them up so that, we can continue to hire them. And, that's our jobs right now, is also to mentor people, to get them into this business and carry it on for us.
Every single Shadow Force member in the start of the movie gets an activation scene. With Ajo, he's in South Korea having an underground fight. And, he's having fun to begin with, but then when he gets that activation video, something switches in him. It's almost like a sleeper agent. I love working with Joe in a way where, actually the night before the fight, I sent Joe this entire character essay of this is how I think the fight should go. We should do this in this moment. We should do that in that moment. I think that would tie in with our backstory and whatnot. And Joe was like, okay, cool. And on the day, we just did something completely different that actually worked so much better for the scene. And he's a creative, mad genius that way, almost like a mad scientist. But for filmmaking, he just comes up with these genius ideas in the moment that just really serves the character and the story and makes it really exciting to watch. As a teenager, I did quite a bit of martial arts. So that came in handy when it came down to what style of combat Bajo would have. And, you know, me and our stunt coordinator, Marco Morales, we decided to incorporate some Wing Chun style into Bajo's movements because that's what Isaac's character, played by Omar Sy, has. I grew up watching a lot of Mark's movies, and I told him this. I was like, Mark, that first day when I worked with you, in my mind, I was in the scene, sure, but in my mind, I was really thinking, what's Mark going to do? What is he going to do? And he's so specific in his choices. And it's incredible to watch. Like, I love watching him in movies, and I get to work with him in the scene now. It's kind of wild. I get to come to work in this beautiful location, and get to work with a bunch of really, really cool and talented people. And they're all so generous and so kind. I haven't really been on a production or set where everyone just has this unified energy, of wanting to make something fun, something cool and enjoyable and exciting. And it all trickles from the top down, from Joe, from Stephen, from Kerry Washington, Omar. It's been a really, really fun experience. It's been awesome working with such a diverse group of people, not just the cast, the crew, as well. And having a movie of this size, being majority people of color, 2 black leads, and as me, it's really, really fun. Like, it's been an awesome experience. But the real highlight is just how well we all get along with one another. We all hang out offset and we laugh offset, we really bond with one another. And I feel like that chemistry really, really shows on screen. And it's really rare being part of this project where everyone is so unified.
I think it was undeniable only because it was such a clear concept, right? Like it's Mr. and Mrs. Smith all in one, but then it's a family and not just a couple, right? Not just the 2 sexy people kind of bantering back and forth. You got that too in Kerry and Omar, but it's also about that family unit and protecting this child. And that's so relatable for anybody, parent or not. And so I think people just were drawn to that, immediately. It's a Joe Carnahan special. He brought all the Joe Carnahan sauce, right? So it's all the huge set pieces, blowing stuff up, all of that good stuff. That's what he does, right? So that was the main thing that he brought was just finding ways to still keep the heart of what we were trying to protect, with the core of the story being Black love and a Black family on the run, right? But not because they did anything wrong, because actually they did everything right, right? Like that's the core of the story. And he always made sure he protected that. The existence of our movie is radical because there is no other version of a Black family at the center of an action movie, right? So action franchise. So Joe was like, how do I also make sure that this still feels like an action franchise that rivals any other, blockbuster? So that's kind of the balance that he brought for us. What was most important in trying to find a location for the movie was a place that would not require us to cheap out on scope. Because as a action franchise that centers a Black family, it was super important to make sure that it's first and foremost an action franchise and rivals the Bonds, the Wicks, the John Wick, all those movies that have giant scope and great storytelling, but giant scope, right? And so we wanted to make sure that all of our locations, as you'll see in the film, all of our locations are grandiose intentionally. Mark obviously is like craft actor, classically trained, et cetera. But what he brought to it, I always tell him, I was like, you got a little street in you because he has a little edge that I don't think people are gonna expect, and he just transforms into this man who is really complicated. He's not a one-note villain at all. We actually understand Mark as Cinder, right? I think it's because he brought so much empathy to that character. But Mark also brought a really interesting take to the character where he said, I think Cinder, in addition to all this beautiful stuff that's written that you did, Joe, that's great. But I want to figure out how to make him a little funny. Like, what if Cinder has a little bit of, like, he's not all that sharp, right? Like he hired all these really sharp people, but he's not too sharp, and sometimes he kind of, forgets where his keys are, forgets what he's saying, he forgets all these little like nuances, and it's hilarious. I think people are actually gonna really enjoy watching Mark. Our cast looks like the world, and that's intentional. That was not a paint by the numbers. Let's go, try to get each corner. It genuinely happened super organically. Auntie and Unc, first and foremost, were always intended to be sort of like a humorous banter that is a foil to Isaac and Kyrah. But when Devon and Cliff came together for that duo, it just opened it up. I think Cliff, he's just naturally funny. And I think over the last few years, people have gotten so used to him being so serious in shows like Power, another Lionsgate project, et cetera, that they forgot that he's also really funny, and charismatic. And so he brought that. Devon, of course, brought all the humor, brought all of the also intensity too. There's moments when you're not sure if she's playing or if she's really about to snap somebody's neck. And it's amazing, right? Kerry is obviously a great producer, but Kerry is also a phenomenal actress, right? And so she brings all these layers that, that it required, the character of Kyrah required, right? To be a assassin first, to be an assassin first, mom second, is counterintuitive to what we all normally believe as a parent, right? You parent first and whatever else is second. She had to flip that psyche. That's difficult, but it also meant that we had to flip our psyche around what that meant for certain scenes. The best action movies are really small, personal, human dramas masquerading as a big budget, explosion-driven action movie, right? The ones, you gotta have both, right? And so it's certainly a balance to figure out how to thread both, together. But I give a lot of credit to Joe because we knew how to do the heart. We had that down pat. You got a craft actor in Kerry Washington. You got a craft actor in Omar leading this charge. They're going to bring the heart. You don't have to worry about the drama. They're going to make that happen. Jaleel, super additive in that. We needed Joe to help us figure out how to balance that with the scope and the sort of grandiose nature of what an action franchise is. And I think he totally nailed it.